Welcome to Frickety Frack, We Do Talk Back. Thank you for joining me in this episode. My name is Patrick, and I'm Frack. Frickety Frack, We Do Talk Back is a show where I discuss different aspects of fandom, like comics, anime, manga, Star Wars, etc., and how they relate to the gospel. I'm going to be going through an episode of The Mandalorian and connected to teachings from the Bible. And I'm going to be going through the show one episode at a time until season 3 starts, and then I'll jump to season 3 there. And so the name of the show comes from my dad, who dubbed my brother and me Frick and Frack since we were kids. So you might be asking yourself, why The Mandalorian? Well, The Mandalorian is one of the things that kind of helped jumpstart Star Wars for a lot of people. There were, and honestly, a reason why a lot of people got Disney Plus right off the bat, because they were excited for The Mandalorian, and I myself included. I was very excited about The Mandalorian. I loved the trailers, and so I was very excited to be able to have Disney Plus to watch the show. So as I said, The Mandalorian, it's a show that is on Disney Plus, and so that's where you have to be able. You're able to watch it, and so it's always great to see other sides of Star Wars. Now, the original trilogy, and then the prequel trilogy, and the sequel trilogy, they all centered around the Jedi. And they have now referred to episodes 1 through 9 as the Skywalker saga, and so there was a very central theme and emphasis in those 9 movies. But what's always great about Star Wars is when you get to see glimpses of the other side of Star Wars. And so you saw it a lot in the books, comic books, things like that. And so now with Disney Plus, they're now branching off into TV shows. We've covered a little bit of Obi-Wan, and then there's Andor, is a great show. I'm working my way through that. Great show. But anyways, Mandalorian got all of that started. And then, Mandalorian did seasons 1 and 2. And then through season 2, the Disney Plus TV shows branched off and lots of ones. So we had the Book of Boba Fett. And then we've got Ahsoka coming up. And so it's very exciting times that have just come out from the Mandalorian. All right, so in this episode, now if you haven't seen it, go watch it. This episode is great. I know I'm spoiling a little bit of the rating, but it's a great episode. But anyway, so some of the things that are interesting is that one of the things that I love is that in Star Wars, there's always a bar. Wherever you go, there's a bar you can find. And one of the things that I love is that whatever bar you find, it's the same kind of bar everywhere you go. It might be slightly different in different little aspects, but it's all generally the same. Ne'er-do-wells go there. People hiding from bounty hunters go there. So it'd be kind of like, you probably should think about going somewhere else instead of to the local tavern, bar, pub, whatever you want to call it, on that planet, because that's where everyone else is going to be looking for you. But that's just me. And so one of the things that I love about this is that we see the Mando, that's his character name throughout the most of the first season until his name is revealed near the end of the season. I will spoil it just in case you're one of the few people who haven't watched The Mandalorian. And so one of the things that I love about this is that this was what everyone kind of expected to be able to see from Boba Fett. Because we get the Mandalorian armor and look and attitude and everything that goes along with it. We first got the glimpse of it, of Boba Fett, first apparently in the holiday special. I will admit, I have not seen the holiday special, so I don't really know, but I know he appears in that. But then, he makes his grand debut in The Empire Strikes Back, and then he meets his demise at the end of Return of the Jedi, or in the beginning of Return of the Jedi, being knocked into a Sarlacc pit by a blind Han Solo. But as we find out from the Boba Fett TV show, he survived the Sarlacc pit, but it was the exact same thing that basically what happened when Boba Fett survived it in the books. But anyway, so seeing this awesome Mandalorian fighter and in the armor is, like I said, is what we were all kind of expecting Boba Fett to be. But we get to see more of that in this, and so I really love that. And I will say this: Boba Fett is a really great character, especially when you read about him in the books of the expanded universe or in the comics. This is one of the reasons why I'm not going to cover Boba Fett. It's not very good. I'm not going to lie. And I'll say this: it only gets good when Mando shows up in that show. That's my opinion. I'll stick to it. You can really literally skip the first 4 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett, start at episode 5, and you're good to go, especially if you've seen seasons 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian. And so one of the other things I love about this is we get IG-11. IG-11 is a bounty hunting droid. He is a version of IG-88, which we saw a glimpse of IG-88 on the Star Destroyer Executor, being one of the bounty hunters sent out after Han Solo and Princess Leia and the Millennium Falcon. And so IG-11 is a droid of that make, kind, and he was great. It's voiced by Taika Waititi, and I love the droid. He does a great job, very awesome, great fighting, and it's just very, very enjoyable seeing it. But one of the things that I love about IG-11 is that he likes to plan on self-destructing like Dr. Doofenshmirtz does from Phineas and Ferb. He gets, when the Mando and IG-11 partner together to get the quarry, get the bounty, they get pinned. And a couple different times he's like, you know what, I'm going to activate my self-destruct protocols. And, the Mando's like, please don't do that. Please stop. And it's just really great. Then, obviously, the other highlight of this episode is the first time meeting Queel. And so that's going to tie a little bit more into the biblical theme. But Queel is an Ugnaught who the Mando encounters when he first lands on the planet where his quarry was last known at. And Queel helps the Mando find the encampment and trains him in riding the blurg, and just is generally helpful. And so and he uses his catchphrase, if you don't know it, it's "I have spoken." And so today, like I said, that cuts into today's biblical theme, and that is James chapter 5, verse 12. And this is what it says: "But above all, my brothers, do not swear, either by heaven or by earth or by any other oath, but let your yes be yes and your no be no, so that you may not fall under condemnation." So that's Queel's phrase. He says, "I have spoken." And that means that when he says that, he's going to do exactly what he said he was going to do. And so what he does when he encounters the Mando is that he said, "I'm going to help you. I have spoken." And then when he wants payment, or whenever Mando offers him money or payment or anything like that, he's like, "No, I have spoken. I've done what I said I was going to do." And so for me, this is just a great example and a great reminder that we as Christians are constantly in need to remember that what we say we should do. I had friends growing up that I knew that their yes was not yes and their no was not no, because what I could count on was that I couldn't count on them. Any number of times when we made plans, they wouldn't necessarily show up. And I've had that happen in the workplace, in ministry, in churches, and things like that. I'm not saying anyone in particular. I'm just saying it happens. And unfortunately, it has gotten to a point where, it's just easier to, not count on them. And I hate to say it, I have done it myself, where my yes is not yes and my no has not been no. And so that's why in rewatching this episode, it kind of convicted me about that. And so that's kind of my challenge for you guys, that we as Christians, we should always be striving to follow this verse from James. Let your yes be yes and your no be no, so that you may not fall under condemnation. I mean, we shouldn't have to be, pressed to be like, all right, swear this oath to me, make a promise. I'd rather it be that when people said about me that if I said I was going to do something, I did it. And I often, and like I said, I'm not perfect at it, and it's a growing edge for me, and it's one of the things that I want to work on. And so I want to encourage each of you to do that as well. All right, so let's rate this episode. So when Disney Plus started, this was one of the things you could watch. The very first episode, I loved it. When I watched this episode, I could not wait for more episodes. It was great. It was fantastic. It was exactly what I was wanting in this episode, and especially when you see what the reveal is, that the quarry was, in fact, what people have dubbed Baby Yoda. My children call in this season, Baby Yoda is referred to as the child, and so with the child, my kids call him Baby Yoda. That's what we find out. That's who the Mando and IG-11 had been sent to recover. And so seeing the mystery is like, oh my gosh, it's a little Baby Yoda. And I just was completely fascinated by it. I was really excited to see it and see what was going on. I mean, the action was great. The world felt lived in. Everything made sense, and it felt like Star Wars, and like the Star Wars that we really kind of miss from time to time. Like being a part of the original trilogy, the Mando could totally fit into that world. So I just highly recommend it. So this episode is a perfect 5. So watch this episode. If anything, just watch this one episode. It's great and it's fantastic. All right, so anyone with questions for me about the biblical lessons that I talked about in this episode, or any other discussion ranging from anime, comics, or just anything in general, feel free to email me at frickityfracktalkback@gmail.com, or reach out to me on Twitter at frickityf, or at frickityfrack on Instagram and Facebook. So please rate, review, and subscribe. Leave a comment in the comments if you have a question or anything like that. But remember that I love you. Most importantly, God loves you, and this is the way.